Well, so let's do the run-up of discussions. And we told you we bring into the studio the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alhassan Suhuyini, is here. And good morning to you, Alhassan.
Good morning, Roland. It's been a while.
Yeah, been a while.
Hope you're great.
I hope you're doing well as well.
Alhamdulillah.
I had an argument yesterday that you guys wanted security.
Well, Parliament, you know, that discussion came up, yes.
Okay. I will see whether it's going to dominate in the platforms and the mainstream media this morning. And then also a former member of Parliament is right here, had been very much instrumental in the campaign and the communication thereof during 2016 and before then, culminating the election of the MPP and the president. Akufo-Addo Kwabna Kokofu is a member of Parliament for Bantama. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. How are you? Thank you very much. It's been a while.
Yes, it has been a while, but I listen to you very often on radio. Commenting on topical national issues.
Oh, thank you.
And sometimes, I think the last time I heard you defending one of the related issues. But
it's always playing defense.
No, sometimes I've been attacking.
Well, but we also
Ronnie, I'm not seeing you at the base.
Yeah.
Last
you have a base?
I go there once in a while, at least once a month or something.
You have a
it's
base?
you rather I don't see.
Okay,
Maybe you go there at times.
Mr. Addison, good morning.
You have a base?
Yeah, we have a place that we meet once in a while, yeah. Because it's around his neighborhood.
And what do you do there? I'm just curious.
Oh, it's just sit and chat.
But MP.
Over drinks.
MP, what's your problem?
I wanted that to come out. Over drinks.
Over drinks, yeah. Over drinks.
That's how you loosen the tongue.
So no. We don't loosen the tongue.
And
I think that we just talk on social issues, no politics.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, just be careful who you meet at that base, because you could just be invited to help the police in some investigation.
Now I've become more conscious of that.
If you are...
That's how dangerous hanging out has become.
If you need to, even in your home, you can be invited. If the need arises, of course.
Why do we have microphones and cameras now being eavesdropping and sneaking into people's homes?
Your son can give you
That's an added caution. Just take it and know the times that we are living in.
Your husband can give you away.
No, not in our social, cultural, and traditional sense.
And we need to do that. If I'm a criminal and I'm married to you, you should be bold enough to give me away.
Yes. This matter there.
Yes,
right.
that is the society we should strive to build for ourselves. Yes, of course.
Speaking of your parents and family, etc.
No, you see, that will end criminality. It will help limit criminality.
Meanwhile, the UP tradition claim those were one of the reasons why they had to overthrow Nkrumah. That he was making children spy on their parents.
Anyway.
Well, we also do know this has dominated the discussion platforms. The arraigning before court, ACP Agojo and our own Joseph Akable had been in court. We'll start off with that. We'll speak to him as well. When we come back speaking to him after watching that story, we'll also try to dissect the issues relatedly, because it's part of action that have been taken by national security, if not the national security establishment, to bring or to put forward some notable names to have been part of attempts to, as they call it, overthrow the presidency. But this report by Joseph Akable is next.
On Wednesday, accused the prosecution of scheming to deny him bail. Dr. Benjamin Agojo's legal counsel, Hamdia Mohammed, said the state brought the policeman to the Kanesi District Court despite knowing very well it does not have jurisdiction to hear the matter. State prosecutor ASP Sylvester Asari, however, disagreed. He explained that by law, the state or an investigative agency is required to bring a suspect before a court within 48 hours. The court set Friday, November 8 to deliver its ruling on the matter. There was some confrontation as the police officer exited the court premises. He could be heard making the point that he will continue to wear his police uniform as he's a serving policeman.
I want to wear Thank you very much. These charges are frivolous. I'm as strong as anything. I'm not going to be bogged down.
We are behind you. We are behind you. Your family is behind you.
Your family is behind you. Nobody can gag me. I have not committed any crime. I've done nothing wrong. I mean, the president called upon us to be citizens. So when I express my opinion on a WhatsApp platform, unrelated to any alleged coup, nobody should bog me down. And I'll stand for this. I will stand for this till the end.
It's okay. It's
They
okay.
cannot break me down at all.
It's okay.
And I'm as strong as anything.
It's okay.
Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much.
Go.
Some of his family members who came over to the Kaneshie District Court to show support to the policeman have been speaking to the press about what they make of all that is happening.
And we are very grateful to the whole country. Everywhere you pass, the cause in and outside Ghana, we are very grateful to everyone for the support they have shown us. At the end of the day, we believe that this same Ghanaian spirit, that we should be citizens, to which he's standing, would vindicate him at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
It's unfair, you understand? Because I know my uncle since from infancy, and I know how he is. And I'm ready to die for him. You understand? Because I know the caliber that he is. He doesn't like any wrong thing doing. You understand? He always advises us. Hey, don't do anything, you get a problem. You understand? So he came in from the United Nations and he's been picked up. That's he's among the crew plotters. And my brother, my sister, I can stand on anywhere to defend, to talk on behalf of his character or how he is. You understand? I'm ready to die for him. I'm ready.
So on Friday, the court presided over by Eliano Botwe will give its ruling on whether the charges that have been filed are properly filed or whether the case should be sent to a different court. Reporting for JoyNews from the Kaneshie District Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
And we're streaming Joseph Akable into the studio. Joseph, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on Skype. But in the meantime, this also means that we have to look forward to a court sitting tomorrow, right?
Good morning. Good morning, Roland.
And I'm asking, this also means that we have to look forward to a court sitting. What should we be looking forward to in that proceedings?
And so the Kaneshie District Court, presided over by Magistrate Eliano Botwe, will on Friday deliver a decision which will determine the course of events as far as this particular case is concerned. The specific question that she will be answering is whether the district court could proceed to have heard the case that was put before it. This is a case of abatement to commit treason, that is a charge that has been leveled against ACP Dr. Agojo. And the other question is whether the court has the power to grant him bail or to remove him into the custody of the BNI. The argument that lawyers for Dr. Agojo had made was to the effect that the prosecutors deliberately took him to a court knowing very well that this is a district court that cannot grant him bail. And so the argument the lawyers are making is that if the court cannot grant him bail, they don't think that the court has the power to proceed to remand him. And so they are saying that if the magistrate is unsure of this particular issue, then she should hold on with it and refer the matter to the Supreme Court for directions on what the Constitution says about the fact that when a person is arrested within 48 hours, he must be put before a court. And they are saying that must this be a court or should it be a court that could be able to grant him bail? Beyond the reports that I filed, we've been able to get documents relating to the state's case that was filed in terms of the facts of the case. And the information we are picking has to do with the fact that the state says the interaction between Dr. Agojo and Dr. Makpam started when Dr. Agojo was in Uganda. The state prosecutors say that he was contacted to join the Take Action Ghana. This is a group that the state prosecutors describe as one that's intended to organize a series of demonstrations towards the goal of overthrowing government eventually. The state prosecutors in their documents say that Dr. Agojo agreed to join this particular group and supported them with various sums of money, and again drafted a speech for the group and pledged to join the demonstration even though he was outside the country. And so they said that he had several meetings with them. We've interacted with lawyers for Dr. Agojo led by Martin Pebu, and they say that those additional information that was put in the fact sheet that was submitted before the court are untrue, and in the right time, at the right time, they are going to lead evidence to show that this is merely a witch hunt and going after an officer who is vociferous and not scared to speak his mind.
But even before we come to the substance of the prosecution's case, in relation to him being arraigned before a court, how does that also dovetail into, we know you look at the Ghana Law Report, and in that case, Pebu versus Attorney General, indicating, in all honesty, that the AG would need to issue a practice directive to police prosecutors to stop sending persons before magistrate for bail who are charged with serious offences. And we do know that the Supreme Court had also made that ruling fair and justifiable.
Yes, in fact, it's on that basis. That is why his lawyers have even gone a step further beyond the arguments they've made in court. They've actually written a petition to the Attorney General's office, drawing the AG's attention to the fact that they believe that the court that he has been put before was not that which was fair. The argument is that, as far as they are concerned, flowing from that Supreme Court decision about all offenses being bailable and it being at the discretion of the judge to decide, they feel that if a state prosecutor is minded to be fair to an accused person, they should take the person to a court that can actually grant him bail and can refuse him bail. And so they say that, flowing from that decision, they do not think that it is fair that you take an individual to a court that cannot grant him bail, even though you are not ready to start with a committal, because the state prosecutors have already indicated that this is an indictable offense and they are going to trial him for the committal process in that particular court. What we have seen mostly with the committal process is that a bill of indictment is handed over to the accused person, which contains the various witness statements, the evidence against the accused person and everything, and it's presented to the court. Then the court does an assessment and decide whether the evidence is sufficient enough to commit the individual to stand trial at the High Court. And their point is that once the state prosecutors are not ready to do that, in fact, the state prosecutor told the court that they are very soon going to make their bill of indictment available for the committal to proceed. And so the lawyer's argument for Dr. Agojo is that if that is not ready, they should have been taken to a court, that court granting bail, so that the court would have looked at the facts of the case and decided whether he deserves bail or not. When we checked at close of work yesterday, they say they are not received a response from the AG's office in terms of the petition that had been sent there.
Now, in relation to this or these string of cases before now, it looks like this has been the pattern of the state of the prosecution.
Yes, in fact, so in terms of the numbers, so far there are 10 people standing trial. The others initially were actually charged, if you recall, with issues relating to unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition without lawful authority. They were taken to the courts the first time. Their lawyers actually raised a similar application, except that the argument backing it was a bit different. They didn't question the power of the court to remand and grant bail. They were simply saying that the offenses cannot be tried in those courts, but the prosecutors responded that they are not going to trial the case. There was just a committal they were doing then, that the trial proper would take place at the High Court. And in those instances, they asked that they be remanded into custody pending further investigations. They subsequently amended the charges to add that of treason felony, which is the abatement part of that treason felony charges against Dr. Agojo. And so, by way of what has happened in the previous cases, it was just the similar approach that the prosecution was using again. They go over, they inform the court that we have brought this individual, this is why we have brought in, this is the charge against him. Investigations are still ongoing. We ask that we remand him into our custody pending we being ready to commence with the committal proceedings. And what we've seen happen in the previous instances also is that the lawyers have made a case for their clients to be moved from the BNI custody, because that is one issue that has come up about how they have been treated in the BNI custody, whether their lawyers have been granted access to him as and when they wanted to do so, and none of the family members. And the soldiers that are among the accused persons, the court did grant that and moved them into the custody of the military, while the civilians have been moved to the Nsawam prison away from the BNI custody as well. And so the lawyers had actually hinted they were going to raise that issue, but they stayed on the matter of the jurisdiction issue and raised that objection, that the judge the magistrate does not hear this particular case. And so in terms of the trend, it's just following in the same manner of requesting for the accused persons to be remanded pending further investigations.
Well, we have to wind up our conversation, but the Criminal Offences Act, what does it say for abetting a crime of treason or an act of treason? What will be the sentence?
It's quite a major offense. It's a first-degree felony, and it's that which is one of the crimes that are perceived to be quite high, for which reason the lawyers are very much concerned about this particular matter, and that's why they've served notice of defending it to its entirety. The last time we interacted with Martin Pebu, at that time he was not a counsel in this particular case. Said the offense was of the nature that you could have a number of years, beyond 5-10 years plus, if you are found guilty. But all these are matters that will come at the eventual trial at the High Court, because even the committal will have to be done, which the court will have to assess the evidence and decide as to whether there is even a matter that must go over to the High Court. And so maybe we may never get there, maybe we may get there, but all these are matters that will commence on Friday, that's tomorrow, when the court gives a response on whether indeed this is a case that it could hear and proceed to hear this particular matter.
Well, thank you, Joseph Akablea, a man in court yesterday. Indeed, our lead court correspondent will be monitoring the issues as the case again is called tomorrow, as of Friday. But outside the related issues out of court, he will be monitoring the subject. And if anything comes up, we'll feed you comprehensively right here on the channel. But we have to come back to the studio and speak to our discussant. And I have to start with you, Mr. Suhuyini. This seemed to be a string of cases. We've had even security experts. We've had even former army personnel, top army officers, especially on this subject, make some commentary that they didn't think it warranted the state at which the state seemed to have assented it.
Well, Roland, once again, good morning. Good morning to Honorable Akufo, and good morning to our cherished viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. I think that we are playing with fire. You know, I feel very uncomfortable following the discussions ever since the story of this alleged coup plot, you know, started. And I'll tell you why later. But in the broader light, I see a subtle return to the culture of silence. I mean, you can choose to downplay it, you can choose to rationalize it, but the writing is on the wall that we are living in dangerous times where it is very difficult for one to freely express himself or herself, especially if that expression is not found to be palatable with the government of the day. You can list some of the things that have already happened, either by the use of regulations to shut down critical media that are found to be unfavorable of the government, or even banks on the mere basis of fit for purpose, you know, tests. And the fact that people are said to be not to be fit for purpose because they're undergoing a trial that is supposed to assume or make us all assume that they are innocent until proven guilty. But by regulation, because the person or the people don't look like red, blue, and white, you have regulations being used to just frustrate their efforts. Talk about Ahmed Swale and how he lost his life after the #2 expose. Talk about what even Samria Anas had to go through as a result of that documentary. Talk about your own former colleague, Manasseh Azure, and how for the first time in our history, you know, a civil society organization had to take him abroad, you know, provide him with security and all of that for simply doing what we have all been doing all these years, especially after we said we had come out of the, you know, culture of silence. So the writing is on the wall that sadly we are returning to the culture of silence. It's so disturbing, and for me it brings back memories of discussions that we had long before, you know, the current president assumed the reins of power. The cautions that a lot of people, even some very close to him, you know, said about the intolerance levels and how some of it even manifested in his own political party, how because the chairman and general secretary did not agree with his ways of managing the party at the time, they had to be shut up, they had to be silenced, they had to be chased out. And so when you see some of these things happening under his presidency, and yet you are supposed to accept that he is, you know, a champion of human rights, he's a lover of free speech, you are not able to reconcile, you know, the happenings on the ground with, you know, some of these things that we are told he is a champion of. Now, to the specific issue of the coup plots, Roland, there are two things that stand out for me. I think that as a people, we are not angry enough.
You mean we should be?
Look, apart from this subtle return of the culture of silence, there is a danger in there for those who have always considered themselves to be apolitical in this country as a result of what is happening. It is as if now in this country, you have to declare where you stand, either with the NDC or with the NPP. When you are with the NDC, then we treat you as opposition member. If you are said to be apolitical and say the things that apolitical people have said in the past, you are at risk. I mean, many people who have considered or described themselves as apolitical have described our democracy as not representative enough of, you know, the wishes and aspirations of our people. And they have asked for something better. In fact, some have even asked for, you know, the third alternative. Some have said that, look, the NPP and the NDC are not providing the needed, you know, kind of governance. And I'm saying they're neutrals. And that I'm saying that if you listen to what is happening with Agozo, for me, those people are in danger if they are not seeing it. I am drawing their attention to it. Because now, if you say that NDC and NPP are not good, the signs are not looking good, and people may be angry, and we may have an Arab Spring on our hands, then you are a suspected coup plotter. And so many people have said this. Look, you can go into our archives. If it is about the Arab Spring, look, the Vice President have said this. The President, when he was in opposition, talked about the unemployment levels and how that could lead to an Arab Spring. Chairman Wontumi said it. Which NPP communicator, before 2016 elections declared them as winners, did not think that situations were rife for an Arab Spring in this country? In fact, many of them just didn't think it. They uttered it on media platforms. So why has it all of a sudden become, you know, prohibited? It's become criminal for anybody to, you know, say such a thing on a platform, that the conditions are right.
You think such categories of people are being hounded?
That is exactly what is happening, Roland. And I think that, look, we must be careful. That is the first, you know, problem that I see, that perhaps many people are not, you know, averting their minds to. The fact that those who have always considered themselves neutrals, those who have always considered themselves apolitical, are at risk of expressing the reasons why they consider themselves neutral and apolitical. Because once you do, and the government doesn't find it palatable, the conclusion may be that you have some ill motive towards the, you know, government. And you can be invited for questioning and perhaps even incarceration in BNI cells. The second issue, Roland, that gives me sleepless nights, ever since especially Agazo was picked up. Look, let us not play with some of these things. As a country, we have a history. We have a history. And if it is true what they say, that history has a funny way of repeating itself, then our state institution the government in particular, must be very, very careful with how they handle this matter. They must be extra careful.
Why?
They should not conduct themselves in a way that they will become a security threat. Because
I don't
a government can become a security threat to a nation by its conducts or, you know, misconducts. And I see a misconduct in this case. I am not saying that if you have suspicions about people plotting a coup, you should not, as a government, you know, investigate.
Because it looks like so far there's not been any interference by any political head or political figure within government.
You see, I am not saying that if you have suspicions about people plotting a coup, you should not investigate, you should not try to defuse
what are you
it.
saying?
But I'm saying you must do that very, very carefully in order not to detonate.
Is that why the courts are there?
In order not to detonate, you know, what may already be a volatile situation. And I talked about a history that we have that should guide us. Look, I may have been young, but when I look at Agado, when I look at the processes, Roland, I get scared, especially of what has happened before in this country in the trial of Jerry Rawlings. That led to the uprising. Let us be careful. For all you know, Jerry Rawlings' coup wouldn't have been popular, but for the conduct of the government of the day and how he was put on trial. Let us be very, very careful, and let us also remember
what conditions
that history,
are there that seem
history has a funny way. Look,
situation.
whether you like it or not, unemployment is very high in this country. Whether you like it or not, people are very suspicious of our government and our political leaders of today. Whether you like it or not, there is a lot of apathy towards officialdom in the country today. And so if the government or political leadership does not conduct themselves in a way to convince everybody that indeed there is, you know, a threat to the security and peace of this country, but make it come across as if this is a witch hunt of a free-spirited man who speaks about the challenges that they go through every day, you will be amazed.
You're sounding like Duncan.
You will be amazed. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at the eruption of support that these people may have. And so I think it is important that our government is cautioned that they must not conduct themselves in this matter in a way to become a security threat to this nation. I am just cautioning our government. Because you see, we are all in this boat and we arrive at the bank together or we sink together. And so when I see these things happening and I caution, it is not because I want the worst to happen. God forbid. We all must keep this country intact. Even in its deficient state, it is better to have the democracy that we currently enjoy than the alternative.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable.
Yes, Honorable.
Roland, good morning to the President and the entire leadership of the land. Yes, the Honorable has finished with his inciting sentiments and all that, and he's calling out people to do what?
He's inciting?
Yes.
He's cautioning, he says.
Well, cautions can, they can mean incitement. And he has done that just now. And everybody viewing, everybody listening. But let me also caution you, and people who think like you, that Ghana is for Ghanaians, all of us. The sovereignty of Ghana, the protection of Ghana is bestowed into the hands of the government. President Akufo-Addo is chief in commander of this nation. At no point can any government, and for that matter, that of President Akufo-Addo, will sit aloof and watch the security threats, sentiments that can plunge the country into chaos, destabilize the entire country. At your last submission, you said we all prefer to be in a country where peace will prevail, even though you might have deficiencies in our democratic discourses. That is the real caution, that is the real line you need to go. But not having said all those things and all that, what are we talking about? We have history also to guide us. You know what happened under Professor Bizia's government? 2.5 years in office, in September, the government was overthrown.
The same situation, you say?
Yes. Just cast your mind back. Dr. Hilal Liman of PNP, 2.5 years in office. Around September, his government was overthrown. Some of these sentiments were going on and all that. And at that time, the governments at that time thought, yes, we can play around and then manage and get things done. This time around, proactiveness of the security services is highly on the alert. And it is in the supreme interest of the nation. It is in the supreme interest of the country that we hold the peace that we have. We provide the needed security for government to operate and operate freely, and all Ghanaians enjoy what we are enjoying now. For me, we should allow the law to take its course. My brother, my junior brother, has put up a spirited defense and all that. I wish that you join the defense team in court. This matter is not for public opinion, the court of public opinion. It's a criminal first-degree felony, and the consequences and the sanctions attached to it, if the person is found guilty, is so grievous. So it's a serious matter that is being contested in court. If you have any evidence or anything to put in his defense, it should be done in court. But to sit on TV and sit on radio, come into the public space.
He's not commenting on the court matter, is he? What he's doing is commenting on a string of actions that have been taken by the security of the state.
Yeah, so what do you want the security to do?
He's not entitled to make those comments, you say?
What do you want the security to do? To just go to sleep?
He's not commented on what actions that the security need to take. What he's commented on, and I believe you were also here, is a string of actions based on his observation for which he's making an opinion on. That is not commenting on the court case. Because the court case then will be going to the merit of the case, and I'm not sure that he's commented.
That is exactly. He has passed judgment. He's sitting here saying that the man has done nothing wrong and that he speaks his mind.
Did I say that?
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah, of course. That's my understanding. You are passing judgment now that the man is an innocent man and he's being hunted down, and that is witch hunting. That is what you seek to do. And that is grievous. I mean, so for all of a sudden, you are in opposition, so the court should not work.
I hope I'll have
the law, the rule of law should not work. The national security apparatus should not work. Please, let us calm down. Let us calm down. Let us allow the process to go through. If he's found to be innocent, the courts are magnanimous enough. The courts are good enough to pronounce him or anybody innocent. If at the end of the trial or at the end of the proceedings, someone is found culpable, the law must take its course. Why all of a sudden NDC just come up and to the defense of people who are being questioned for the sake of the nation? For once, let us be Ghanaians. For once, let us all agree to what is of national interest and proceed. For all you know, yes, come in. Yes,
please.
Okay, have you observed that following these string of actions that have culminated in individuals being arrested, and now we have the latest being ACP Dr. Agozo or Agojo, there seemed to be a certain fear of people, ordinary citizens, willingly commenting on issues they feel is just venting their spleen or commenting on related issues of free speech, which is granted by the Constitution in any way. Have you observed that?
No, nobody is stifling free speech here. Free speech has its limits. And I've just cited what really went on during Professor Bizia's time, how things started, how people, through their effusions and all those things, and the planning of overthrow the government. It happened under Dr. Hilal Liman. Most probably, we are not delving deep down to history to see the chronology of coup makers and coup plotters, how they start and how they manipulate things. So now, then it comes back to court issue. The matter is before court.
Have you heard top security people on the subject? That it speaks of some level of paranoia at the states.
They will always say that they have their opinion. They will always say they have their opinion.
To hell with them, you say?
No, they can hold on to their opinions, but we should allow the national security apparatus to work and to protect the good interests of the people of Ghana. The interest of Ghanaians is to have peace. They should go about their duties without any fear or favor. Just now, our friends in Parliament are calling for security. Is it not the case? So the entire Ghanaians need security and peace. So if you are found to be, or I mean, your actions, your speeches and everything are found to be inimical to the peace of the nation, yes, of course, the state has the right to question you, to come and answer questions. When it is unharmful, when you are innocent, you are set free, you are free to go. But when there are credible, weighty evidence to suggest that what is being suspected is really what you want to do or what you are in concert to do, then the law must take its course. So let us calm down. The incitement this morning won't, and he's going to get on to say Ghanaians are not angry enough. Do you think we should be angry at all? We should be angry at the security agencies working, state institutions. Please, spare us.
You see, Roland, first of all, I think that it's important that when we are having these discussions, we, as much as possible, downplay our partisanship. Because, you see, when you view Suhuyini, first of all, as an NDC person, seeking political power from the NPP, and you are an NPP person, there's that tendency for you to dismiss or misinterpret and misunderstand what Suhuyini says, because what you see is an opponent, coming after you. But I believe that, first of all, we are all politicians because we may have equal love for this country and the survival of this country. And so when I raise issues of concern, the approach should not be to misinterpret it. Look, I am saying that Jerry Rawlings was an unknown flight lieutenant when he attempted the coup.
I think it's these allusions that you're making.
And I am saying, good, Roland.
You're making these allusions. It makes him uncomfortable.
Go ahead. It makes Ghanaians uncomfortable, not me myself. Ghanaians watching are uncomfortable.
Roland.
Maybe you know something we do not know. Maybe. Suhuyini, you and your cohorts know something that Ghanaians do not know.
Roland,
what do you mean by that?
Yes, but all these sentiments and repeating and all that.
Roland,
so equating Agozor to Jerry John Rawlings time and all that.
Please, can you wrap up?
Please, if you allow me to wrap up, because you are not allowing me.
Okay, just a minute.
You see, the fact that you pretend that history does not exist does not mean it will not repeat itself.
It's also mentioned Buzia.
Exactly.
The fact that you pretend that history does not, history...
And who is pretending?
Please, can I make the point?
Okay,
the fact that you pretend that history does not, history does not exist, does not mean that history will not repeat itself. You have categorically talked about what happened during Buzia and what happened during Liman, which is correct. And that is why I say that I am not saying that if government has suspicion of a plot to overthrow the government should not take action.
They have the suspicion, don't they?
I'm saying that the way they go about it...
Oh, please, we cannot go Suhuyini way.
The way they go about it...
The national security cannot go Suhuyini way.
Should not detonate. Should not lead to a detonation of what may already be...
What do you mean by
that? By detonation. So you have something to be detonated?
Listen, I'm saying that...
Have you gotten something up?
This discussion is becoming difficult to conduct.
Okay. No, please.
Let's wrap up.
I listed.
Wrap up on it. Then,
Roland,
then we can have some
I listed the things.
Moderation features.
I listed the things that can be detonated. Yes. I talked about unemployment, which is high, which everybody says is a recipe for disaster in any society. I talked about I talked about, you see, that is the politics that is making you not get the point. Then I talked about the apathy levels in the system and the suspicion that majority of our people have of officialdom. And I did not even just restrict officialdom to government. I'm talking about all of those, I mean, all of us in offices. So it is important that our government does not conduct itself in such a way that it becomes a security threat to us. If they want to, you know, deal with a plot to overthrow this government, and I've said that even in the deficient state that our democracy is, it is better than having the alternative. But our government can conduct itself in a way that it will protect it. But so far, I am saying the way they are going about it, it's not the best.
You've made your point.
It's not the best. And let us caution government. And cautioning government does not amount to an incitement.
It's fair, I have a last
cautioning government does not amount to an incitement.
But you see.
And I did not defend Agojo. Please, take note of what I said. I am saying if government, I did not defend him. I said if government thinks that there is something, all I am saying is that so far what has emerged is not convincing. That he wrote on a WhatsApp platform.
We haven't had a case.
That is your judgment.
We haven't gotten into
that is so far.
Okay. I end this.
So you see, I'm vindicated.
I end this.
He says so far.
But
you pass your judgment.
The other related issue we wanted also to
you belong to a WhatsApp
dominating
and you say the country is right for an Arab Spring.
You know, following that news conference that was convened by the NDC.
Yes.
It was headed by the communication officer of the party, and Sami Jemfi enumerated with pictures individuals for which he did try to create some genealogy, all in conclusion that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the president, was practicing a governance system of appointing his family and his friends in key positions, not just any position, but key positions. And a number of the individuals also had been mentioned in the process. I'm sure you're very familiar with that press conference. Your reactions in the first place?
Well, ordinarily, I would have just let it go and ignore it, but for some reasons. And yesterday, my national youth organizer, lawyer Nana Boachi, did justice to that. But then it sounds so trivial, and for all you know, I mean, like jokes. And it goes to tell that the NDC, in their own scheme of things, would love to shift the goalposts, the paradigm, so that election 2020 will be reduced to tribal sentiments, hatred preaching, and all manner of things, so Ghanaians will get lost on the real issues on the ground. But let me tell you, we're going to debate 2020 elections on visions, on accountability, on performance. You will measure. You will look at President Akufo-Addo as someone who is an incurable optimist. I mean, borrowing his own words.
So you're saying there's no merit in what they say?
Exactly.
Pure speculation?
None at all. Because we are talking about 6,000 appointees that has been done by president, and indeed all other presidents. And you come around, pull out about 55 names, and then attribute them to friends and family and all kinds of manner of things. If you go through it, you get to know. You mentioned lawyer Gabi Ochedako as being a de facto prime minister. What does that mean? De facto prime minister. You are the journalist and you know all those things.
But you're the lawyer too. You're saying that there's nowhere in our constitution that
exactly, and nowhere even, and the accountant general should come and tell Ghanaians when he started paying a de facto prime minister from our purse. He should come and tell us. Then a host of all those things, and I'm told that copiously he mentioned me, Kwabena Kukufu, that I've been working and toiling for the government and I have no appointment. My God. For all you know, maybe they decided to play mischief out of this. But this one is me. I'm a member of the Forestry Commission Board. A member, a full member. I'm a member of the NPP National Communication Committee, a very strong body. I was offered the Deputy General Secretary, but I politely declined because of some good reasons at the university that I'm undertaking. Even the National Communication Directorship was offered. Currently, as we speak, I have been appointed the Deputy CEO of Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Corporation. This is it.
So he has his share too.
No, but you came like, to town
like
to
toffees.
lie.
Like toffees.
You came to town to lie, completely lie to
But
the
you're not
people
related
of
to the president. I mean, that's the whole point.
No, but he said, me not related to the president, said, Kokofu ought to have been given an appointment, and for all the trial and all that, he has not been in there. But rather, friends of the president and the family. Please, what are you talking about? You do not sit in opposition and direct who is appointed to office or not. You do not sit in opposition and direct how the national security operative should work. You do not sit in opposition and expect that your whims and caprices will be carried on by the president. We are talking about visionary leader here. And let them come out to pinpoint one of those people they are who does not have the requisite qualifications
and
expertise to work on. Ghanaians are interested to see their lives are on.
So the concerns of the NDC, to hell with it.
Ghanaians are interested to see the lives on. Ghanaians are interested to see the planting for food and jobs going on. Ghanaians are interested to see the free SHS, how it runs and how we can better it. Ghanaians are interested to see how the 80% of roads, the entire Ghanaian road networks, that were done by NDC under John Mahama, that were put in a green book within 2 months or some few months that they left office. Ghanaians are experiencing a whole array of bad roads. Ghanaians are interested to see how we get them fixed. And that is the vision of the president. Having given out monies to the contractors, the president is now poised on repairing, building new roads, and making sure we maintain the existing ones. These are the focus. And you don't come here. And you know why? Why they did that press conference? Just to take the wind out of the president's successful visit to the Volta region. A very, very, very strategic visit to the Volta region. Galvanizing the people, energizing the Ghanaian people to come around leadership, free to criticize constructively, and then offer opinions so that we all move on as a people. And that one alone was so piercing, it was so damaging to the NDC. So quickly they had to put something together.
You're saying that they're feeling the pinch,
yeah,
their stronghold.
Yeah, they are at their own backyard. And that was quite difficult for them to comprehend. So let us take the wind out of it. Let us go out there, put up a list, and then, please, what are we doing to ourselves as Ghanaians? And you come talking about friends and all that, and family and all that. And this...
The individuals on the list. You see the NDC, the kind of genealogy and the connection they draw. It can't be true, can it?
But I'm asking. You see, Roland, we are brothers, we are friends, we are church members, we are classmates, we are everything. One Ghanaian people. And he'll tell you, once upon a time, he had an appointment, and his junior brother too was somewhere else. And if you look at, you said Sami Jamfi, the officer, communication officer. Yes, he has some hatred, he has some bitterness in his heart. His master, Ibrahim Mahama, you remember this bauxite thing? Over 200 billion worth of bauxite, 80% of Ghana's natural resources, was handed to him free of charge without recourse to legalities. This government comes to office. President said, no, this belongs to the entire Ghanaians. And the processes that led to your acquisition is fraud. I mean, it does not conform to law. So let's check it out. He went to court. Court has affirmed government's position. And since then, they are prepared. And this was a junior brother of the president.
So you say this is vindictiveness?
Exactly. Exactly. And it will not wash. And Ghanaians have seen through all that.
Well, Roland, you see, first of all, because he mentioned it,
You want to about your appointment?
No. That's neither here nor there.
But they said I did not have an appointment. I have proved it's wrong.
You see.
I've proved them
because
to be wrong.
You mentioned it. I've been wondering what the president has been doing touring the country, because in the past when presidents tour, they either cut short or inaugurate projects. But I see that it looks as if our president is already on a campaign trail. I mean, he goes around.
Is it rice farm?
He goes around. He goes to a rice farm, an individual. He just visited the farm. He goes around taking funds. It's like, oh yeah, he just goes around spending our money.
But that's belittling.
But no, but truly, what is he doing? He went to the Volta. What really? Did he go to cut salt? Did he go to inaugurate anything? Did he commission anything? Yes, just to take funds. But that's just by the way. Now, you know, he talks about Ibrahim Mama and the bauxite. First of all, we have documents that have emerged from the Minerals Commission showing the tedious process Ibrahim Mama had to go through before, like any other Ghanaian, the competitive, you know, process that he had to go through before, like any other Ghanaian, he got that bauxite deal. Even though his brother was president, no single process was circumvented, and his business acumen, you know, predates even his brother becoming a vice president. In fact, some of them are beneficiaries of his business.
Who? You're pointing to me?
Some of them in the NPP.
You're pointing to me?
They have shares. They are partners with him in many other businesses long before even his brother became vice president.
So they do business.
You know, yes,
so
yes. And apart from that, Roland, look, the court said one thing, that a contract of that magnitude should have gone to Parliament for ratification. Is it Ibrahim Mohammed's responsibility to have taken it to Parliament for ratification? But you see, it is the government's duty, it's the minister's duty. So if you come with a vindictive, listen, if you come with a vindictive mindset and you say that because this gentleman, even though he's a long-standing businessman, but he doesn't look blue, red, or white, I keep saying, so he cannot do business in our country, you, the minister, won't take it to Parliament for ratification. As an individual, he can't walk to Parliament for ratification. So you simply went out to witch hunting. You simply went out to witch hunting.
The rules are laxed.
You simply went out to witch hunting, and he has decided to let it go. But you see, let's look at the issue. Let's look at the issue of the press conference. Look, Roland, me personally, I don't have any problem with any of those who have been appointed.
So why did you do the press
conference? They may have qualified. They are Ghanaians, and they can, you know, contribute their quota in whatever capacity to the development of this country. But you see, when Honorable Kokofu talks about issues and the need for those issues to govern our discussion, he must be reminded that nepotism is an international, you know, observation. It's an observation that people make internationally about the governance of a country. Nepotism is one of the things that are used to measure whether you have good governance or not internationally. So you don't say that it is not an issue. Nepotism is an issue worldwide.
The practice among those with power of influence, favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs.
It is an internationally condemnable act. So you cannot wish it away by saying it is not an issue. Well, it is an issue when it comes to good governance.
Well, there's been a reply from the NPP, which is indicating that even in the NDC regime, they were friends. And
you see,
perhaps maybe not family of the president, but they were friends who were having like positions.
Roland, that is why I started by saying that. First of all, personally, I don't have a problem with these people, but we cannot ignore the fact that nepotism, please.
Thank you.
We cannot ignore the fact that nepotism in governance is something we must all work against. Now, the second issue that I have with the list and the activities of this government as it relates to appointments, which for me is germane to this discussion, is the dishonesty that our government, you know, has demonstrated. And it is not only in the area of appointment. Look, this was a president who taught this country and told us that borrowing and taxing was a very lazy way of governing, and that he had a different approach that will turn this country into a first world in 18 months. Today, the borrowing and the taxing has gone off the roof without any tangible to show. That is dishonest. That is being dishonest. This was a president who went round the country and told us about how corruption was destroying the moral fiber of this country and how he will fight it with the Anas principle. Today, that same president is fighting Anas with his government and his principle.
Why?
Well, you know what happened with the GFA and many other journalists who have sought to expose corruption under his government and what they have gone through. This was a man who said we needed to fight corruption by exposing people, you know, using the Anas principle. Today, he's very uncomfortable with anybody who does anything, you know, related to the Anas principle in exposing corruption in his government. Roland, that is dishonest.
Information minister
Roland, that is dishonest. Again, please, it's not what he says, it's the actions. Aren't you in this country? Again, this was a president who went round this country and promised the people that he was going to run a lean government and that the NDC government was oversized and that they were feeding fat on our taxes and demonstrating incompetence. He comes into power and he appoints an unprecedented number of over 120 ministers, tops it up with over 1,000 presidential staffers. And then he defends it. That it is because he has an agenda and he's going to demonstrate competence. Roland, tell me what earth-breaking thing has changed in this country since he became president and appointed these people. Please let us not insult the intelligence. This is what we do, and people think that we just play in politics. Roland, let us not insult the intelligence of the people. This is what we do, and people don't enjoy these discussions. This is what we do.
Have not been created.
Can you think about the number of people who have lost their jobs as a result of this reckless banking sector, cleanup? Please, Roland, this is another president. This is Roland, a president. You see, I'm getting to...
Roland, I think I have my time.
Roland, please, this is another president who went around this country and told us that contracts were inflated and that under his regime, he will make sure that Ghanaians got value for money. Tell me one contract under this government that is less than, you know, what in road sector, that is less than what we used to have. In constructing a hospital or a clinic, that is less than what we used to have. That is the dishonesty I am talking about. And in the matter of nepotism, this was a president who again told Ghanaians that he will not run a friends and family government.
Why did he say that?
Oh, on many platforms, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on many political platforms. In fact, he said that his wife will not even, you know, have any power. Today, we know that the wife is getting GMPC oil cash to run her foundation.
It's a foundation.
Well, I'm saying, you know what I said, to run her foundation.
Non-for-profit.
You should have waited. I said to run her foundation. She's getting GMPC cash. And that is the sad irony of this country, Roland, and the media. We had a first lady in the past who was doing so much. Nobody cared about what she was doing. All they were interested in was where is she getting the money from. Today that we know oil cash has been given to a first lady to run her foundation, everyone seems to be pretending that they haven't seen it. That's hypocritical. But you see, I'm saying that this matter is germane. It's important because our president lied to us. He told us he will not run a family and friends government. So when you see him surrounded by family and friends everywhere, and the justification is that, but they are qualified. Is that what he told us?
And they qualified.
No, is that what he told us?
But they are qualified.
Is that what, did he tell us that I will only appoint my family and friends who are qualified? Did John Mahama appoint people who they said at the time were related to him because he picked them from Agbogboshi with no experience?
But
they had a problem with that, even though it did not exist in the levels that we see today.
And based on that, Ghanaians are qualified.
Roland. When we do this because we just want to keep the conversation going. The people who take us serious in this discussion, get uncomfortable because the intention of this discussion is not just to score political points, but it's also to improve our governance and to prick our conscience to do right. It's to prick our conscience to do right. You don't say one thing. You don't say one thing to get power. You don't say one thing to get power and do the direct opposite of that. That is what leads to apathy. That is what leads to lack of confidence.
But at least I should have a last.
That is what leads to lack of confidence.
I'll ask him if you agree.
No, he has not.
I'm not even. You won't even allow me because you keep interjecting.
For fairness,
you are uncomfortable. That is the point that Ronald made.
I know so.
I mean, because you cannot stop me and ask him to talk and say that I shouldn't continue.
You see, Honorable Suhuyini says that he has no problem with the list. That you should go and tell your communication officer. Oh, you said you have no problem with that list. You said so.
Listen.
You said so. You said fundamentally you have no problem with the list.
No.
The problem you have is that the president promised that he will not appoint his.
I'm here. So let me tell you what I said. Let me tell you what I said.
Let me tell you.
You see, that's a propaganda. He doesn't want facts confuse him. He has made up his mind that he will say this about me, and the facts will confuse him.
There is absolutely
he's not telling the truth about what I said.
But you are here.
No, he will allow me to correct him because you see, the facts will confuse him.
And the lies are on. They do so.
That's what Ghanaians care about.
That's what they care about.
That's what you think they care about.
Ghanaians have food to eat.
Is that what you think they care about?
No, you also think so because times passed. 2-3 years ago, you come to your studio here, and the generators will be booming and booming
and who fix it?
And
you fix it?
Will be entering here.
You fix it?
Yes, President Akufo-Addo comes and fixes it. Yes, of course.
Subhanallah.
Yes, of course. And Ghanaians know that. Ghanaians are interested in the restoration of the allowances.
Should not take credit because he has already run businesses.
The nurses' allowances, the teacher allowances, Ghanaians are interested.
These are what Ghanaians.
They are interested in the free SHS that is ongoing.
The president promised not to, when he is elected into office, practice family and friends means of governance. Did he
do what?
Did he promise the voters?
He's all suddenly developed
in the
some problem with his
electioneering
ears.
that when he is elected, as a form of rebuttal and criticism to the then John Dramani Mahama administration, that when he is elected, he is not going to practice a governance system of appointing friends and family.
Never anyway.
Subhanallah.
Put him to the test of proof. Let him bring it out. Let him tell us. You were a journalist, I mean, a very, very important one at that time. So you should have the records. He never said so. But you see, you have people.
You're saying the president never said that when he comes into office, it doesn't matter the number of people he's related to who are in his.
So long as they are Ghanaians, so long as they are qualified, and these are people who had given up.
By excessive use of that sort of action is nepotism.
What is excessive use? You are talking about 6,000 appointees. You go and queue out about 55.
And that's the biggest 51. We have ever had.
You see,
anyway.
And the 51, you go through it, and almost about 22 are just frivolous. Just about 22, they relate
but
to
the 30 or 20 or 31,
well, of course, why not? These are people who have given up very, very good jobs just to come down, to come and help. These were the people who were writing manifestos for NPP. These were people who were helping with funding the
So if you write manifesto, it means you will be appointed.
Please.
No, but of course you contribute, and loyalty matters. In areas of appointment. Yes, of course.
I think you are now being unfair to me.
And I don't know why.
You want me to also interject and spoil the program because I have chosen to relax. You are giving all the time to talk.
No, but continue relaxing.
No, I think you should control the show.
You are enjoying.
You should control the show.
No. Continue to relax and enjoy what I'm trying to put out there.
You have a minute.
The dishonesty that you are putting out.
You see, the point here is, it will never happen. And I never expected that President Mahama in office would come and appoint me, Kwabena Kokofu, and my friends.
But you wanted President Mahama to do that.
But that's the problem the neutrals tend to have.
I mean,
it looks to be that when you're MPP, it has to be MPP.
So you are in opposition and you expect President Akufo-Addo to be appointing non-MPPs or what? And we are even lucky to have Martin Amidu there, one of your own.
You see, Roland,
first
of all, I need to make the point
that
I never said.
Please, I give you 2 minutes.
I never said.
Family member of
please, excuse me.
Don't control him.
2 minutes, please. Let him make his point for only 2 minutes.
First of all, I didn't say
no interjection.
I didn't say I didn't have a problem with the list. I said I do not have a problem with the people appointed. That's a difference.
But what's the difference between the list and the people?
Okay. I said I do not have personally. I said I don't have a problem with the people because they may be qualified and they can contribute to the nation. But it's different from having. But there is an international governance marker called nepotism, which must guide a president's appointment. But personally, those people have gone to school maybe and they are qualified and they have the right to contribute to anything. But I said that in making an appointment, a president should be guided by that international expectation that your government or your governance will not show nepotism. That's the first problem I had. So note the difference. The second problem I have is with the dishonesty. The promise that you will not run a friends and family government and the results. And that is why I am saying that, and he says that President Akufo-Addo never said that. Akufo-Addo, I won't operate family and friends government in Ghana. And then he goes on. The story goes on. The flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party on Saturday that he will run a transparent and accountable government if elected into power. Let me just quote the relevant portion. It says, I won't operate a family and friends government. Quote, I won't operate a family and friends government in Ghana. And I can assure you that every person in the country will have his fair share of the national cake. He called on members of public to have confidence in him and trust the nation's resources into his hands for efficient use, quote and unquote.
And this is from your phone.
That's the president.
This is from your...
That's a story. That's a story online.
This is your...
Ghana Politics Online. In fact, it is even operated by you at the Ministry of Information.
You people can do all manner.
Do you understand? And those are quotations.
You are just sitting there and orchestrating.
Before you do that, the viewers who know that you are not being honest with them, all right, you know, oh, is there 2 minutes up? That's how unfair you are.
And Roland,
please, how can I be unfair?
No, but I mean, I'm Roland all the time.
There's no interjection.
And no interjection. I'm just giving you.
Have a minute.
You know,
I'm just giving you.
So you see, I am saying that we are inflicted with a government that can't even be honest with us. Look, what President Kufuor did that earned him plaudits when he became president was to first of all admit that some of his criticisms of President Rawlings' regime were misplaced. And based on that gentleman admission, he was given room to do some of the things that he criticized, and it became difficult for his critics to take him on.
Very well.
But unfortunately, the government we have today thinks that they can communicate their way out of everything. They think that we are all so dumb and stupid, and so even if they go against what they promised us, they will still either deny it or they will communicate around it and make us look like we are stupid and dumb. And I think that is even more insulting than the misconduct and misrule that they are giving us. It is simply, you know, shocking that Mr. Kofi will sit here and claim that the president didn't promise not to run a friends and family government. And you see the connections, Roland, the connections that you see with what has been revealed, with the connections that you see with what has been revealed, it's not just like Suhuyini and his brother who are not related to the president getting appointment, or Hanatete and Esther who are not related to the president getting appointment. In this particular case, you are talking in this particular case, you are talking about all of the 51 connected to the president's family.
That's the problem.
That is a classical case of nepotism.
I don't see where
family and friends. Classical. They are all connected to the president. If they are not business partners, and that is it. So they have come with their business ideas to collaborate and share the national cake.
You see, I want you to send this message to my good friend. My good friend Sami.
One family. The son is the secretary.
Oh, he's a. Oh, why not?
The son is president secretary. The mother is somewhere. The father is somewhere. The brother is somewhere.
The communication officer.
All relatives to the president.
Can we have?
Well, I think you are enjoying this, so we'll continue because you don't seem to want to control.
I'm sending suggestions.
You don't seem to want to control the show. And so if you don't control the show for me to also speak, like you allow me to speak.
I gave you a minute and you've overstepped.
A minute. You said 2, now you have reduced it to 1. That is obvious. I mean, everybody will see that you haven't been fair.
Mr. Sami Jemfi that he goofed big time.
How?
When he said
you are just here.
Yes, and
you are just here admonishing him.
No.
Forgetting about
No.
22 of the 51 people
I
on the
was
list
not there
wrong.
when he was using me as an example.
Can I make an...
Yes, okay. Make it.
Okay, you were just here.
No, if you wanted to have a dialogue with Mr. Akufo, why did you invite
saying
him?
that you...
Why did you invite me if you wanted to have a dialogue with
22
Mr.
of
Akufo?
the 51 names
Roland.
were not related at all.
Roland.
But then I was asking you that it's
Why did you
28 or
invite me if you
31
wanted to have a
related.
dialogue with
good.
Mr.
Please,
Akufo?
you
Thank
have made
you.
your comment.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Ronnie. I am asking you to convey a message to Mr. Samejanfi, the communication officer of NDC, that he goofed big time when he sought to use me as an example to vilify the president. And
that you didn't like. Okay.
No, it was untruth.
So
it makes everything that he said that day untruth.
You have so many food soldiers.
Now,
untruth.
So the food soldiers who don't have anything, they are listening. Kokofu has got his own.
Okay.
Yes,
he has got his
so
own.
it says,
those of you suffering, you should suffer silently and quietly.
Please.
It says,
please, Roland, ask Mr. Kokofu if he would be happy if he was a businessman and the CEO appoints his brothers, sisters, wives, children, friends to be in position. And that's from Nelson Kofodia. Would you be happy?
To do what?
To be part of the business. Let's say take Ghana as a business. And you have the CEO's brothers, sisters, in-laws, children, friends. And I'm reading from a viewer, somebody who just watched it.
You should go and ask Dr. Kwabnadofo.
Oh, that's your reply?
Yes, you should go and ask Dr. Kwabnadofo of Unibank and all his businesses. You should go and ask him.
All right,
and the answer lies there.
Now, before
so I Ghana belongs to Nana Akufo-Addo.
Okay, I need 5 minutes. Excuse me.
That 3 members of the family were in the big 6, and so they own Ghana. They can share.
I've heard that argument too.
Please, we are strangers. We are hangers.
I need 5 minutes of your time.
Ghana, you own it.
Let's touch it. Let's touch on this.
Okay.
The subject of the MPs who say they want security because of the nature of the work that they do and the state of their personal security as they find themselves. And we know that this follows sharply the recent attack, if not robbery. I'm sure after the investigations will tell us what really was the motive of the Member of Parliament recently. Let me start with you, Mr. Suhuyini, on the subject.
Well, Roland, again, I'll go back to a caution I issued earlier, that when we have these conversations about national progress, national growth, and what we can all do to make our country better, it's important that we do not view, the contributions of colleagues first from the partisan lenses. It's very important. They may be partisan, but it's important you view it from the nationalistic view until you think that there is a motive beyond the nationalistic view, and then you can treat it the way you want to treat it. But it seems our first approach is dismiss it because he's an opponent. You recall that for a very long time, consistently, we, the minority members in Parliament, raise issues with insecurity in this country and the need for government to up its game in providing all of us with security, especially because it was also a campaign promise in the manifesto of the NPP to ensure that people or citizens live safely on the streets and in their homes. But the rebuttals consistently is that you are creating the insecurity. There's no insecurity. And then one example after another shows that the insecurity in the country is getting alarming. In fact, I make this point because my sympathies and my heartfelt sympathies, for that matter, to our honorable colleague who suffered this thing. But it is so ironic, Roland, that if you check the Hansard of Parliament, a colleague NDC member made a statement on the floor of Parliament about insecurity in the country and the need for government to, work on it. And my honorable colleague made a counter statement to say that the country was safe. Unfortunately, look at what he went through. So you never know when the criminal is going to hit. So even when a political opponent highlights the insecurity that is palpable, it is not even in your political interest to downplay it or to denigrate the person and dismiss it. So it is obvious that it is not just the political elite who are at risk. Look, the ordinary people every day and now are faced with the insecurity challenges in our communities. Only, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got an email from the school my daughter attends. Revising their security arrangements because the school is uncomfortable with kidnap cases.
School
yes.
Same, yeah.
So it tells you that it is real. And asking, you know, the state authority to do something about it is not merely political. It's not merely partisan. It is an issue that has to be addressed, even though we all have, you know, a role to play. But the head must be seen to be, you know, putting, you know, things in place in a way that our little contributions can fit in to ensure that we are all safe. So, but when we treat everything as, oh, it's political, it's NDC that is trying to create, then it becomes problematic, and we all get consumed by it.
So now the MPs are our representatives. If we are not safe, then they also should not be safe, right? But it also, in the reverse, also means that if we create a secured society,
we will all be safe.
Then we'll all be safe. Then they will not need bodyguards.
Well, I am indifferent when it comes to the call for bodyguards and special security, you know, for people in elected office. I understand that every role comes with, you know, if you like, its consequences and benefits. And one of the consequences is that as an elected leader in public office, you may be more exposed to criminal attacks because the perception is that you will have more, and so when they attack you, they will get more. So that is, you know, the consequence. You know, there may be, the benefits may also be that, yes, truly, you are served better than the ordinary person. So there are consequences and there are, you know, benefits. And that is why perhaps there will be a case for those who say protect such a person, because he or she is expected to even be working on behalf of the masses. So it makes sense to say protect the person. But I think that the best thing to do is for all of us to work together to ensure that we have a peaceful, you know, society. We have a more secured society where police presence, for example, is felt and easily accessed. I mean, police presence and protection is felt and easily accessed by anyone and everyone. That is the ideal situation, and that is what we should be working towards, instead of concentrating on providing, you know, personal bodyguards and security to people in authority.
You've also been in Parliament. You're close to the House because you still have many friends there. Would you say that then perhaps whether the Parliamentary Service Board or perhaps the leadership of the House then need to be fronting this, because it looks like it doesn't sit well with the general populace? I don't know whether this one you will agree with me.
Yes. I understand.
As to what the neutrals want.
And I understand my colleague. He finds it difficult to answer your question straight. You asked a very simple question and he has given you a complex answer.
Oh, I don't understand. I thought he's giving me a very
no, I'm with him. I'm with him. I will do the same thing.
You are doing mischief.
and you see, he's much more uncomfortable because the call is coming from his leader in Parliament, I mean the minority leader. And in this case, it's non-partisan approach, sort of. I mean, they're talking as, or they are speaking as a common national asset. You know, Parliament is a national asset. And it's one of the three pillars of democracy. And indeed, any time democracy suffers, it is Parliament that whittles away. So Parliament remains the symbol of democracy. It's so symbolic, and people tend to forget about those things. As far back as 2015, when I was in Parliament, this issue cropped up seriously. Then we had the late J.B. Dankwa saga on our hands. Very, very unfortunate. So it heightened up. And the irony of it is that deputy ministers, ministers of state who are parliamentarians, do have some sort of police guards. So you are in Parliament and you are not a deputy minister and you are not a minister. Your colleague who is being guarded by the police, both on the street and at home. So the question is, aren't we all parliamentarians? Why should a section that are designated to be ministers do benefit from that kind of? That is another, it's a very serious consideration that people are looking at. Because at the floor of Parliament, we are all equal. And you being a deputy minister or a minister does not make you any bigger than me as a parliamentarian
Also because Parliament is an arm of government.
And then the exposure, the vulnerability of parliamentarians as local leaders in their places. So then, yes, I agree perfectly that we need to have a general security situation at that. And we shouldn't play it as if these acts of insecurity are these, just these days and all that. It has been with us, and as a nation.
But that's the generalization that Suhuyini is talking
about.
Yes,
of course, and I'll do that.
We tend to generalize everything and say that it was not only in the MPP
and I'll
regime.
do that, and I'll do
but
that.
That's not fair.
Yeah, but it's important.
Dealing with
no, but it's important
well,
to
let me
know.
go on the phone. I have Dr. Alhassan. He's a political science lecturer with the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. Dr. Richard Alhassan, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Now, we're just discussing the state of security, and just recently an attack on an MP, and we know that it looks like the last couple of years we've had a string of attacks on some MPs. But even though if you look at the numbers, but generally it also speaks volumes about the advocacy for the MPs to have perhaps a better security than they have, because it looks like they don't have. What would be your interim comments before we go on to the main issue why we called you?
Yeah, before I move into that, let me make a quick correction. Roland, you used to know me with Richard. The name has changed to Kwame.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dr. Kwame Alhassan.
So now,
sorry for using the Richard I know you for. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, the issue we are talking about is of grave importance to all of us. We need our MPs, and we need them alive to be able to do the work we have put them there to do on our behalf. With that in mind, we expect that the state will commit every resource to make them better so that we don't lose them. Over the years, the state has done a bit, but we don't have enough. We continue to see threats on them, even while sitting. I was a reporter in Parliament, and I've seen a number of things that would not augur well for the security of our MPs in Parliament. I've also seen outside Parliament, as an ordinary man, that the security challenge that confront them every day. So I think the state, as we can commit resources into doing other things, why can't we devote a large chunk of such resources to protect our MPs?
So you're advocating for security for them, like they're advocating too?
Anything that will protect them, that we can have them alive to do their work, I am for it, and I'm all for it.
Okay.
We should be able to do it and do it well.
Now let's move on to the subject of the accusation by the NDC following that press conference that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the president, has surrounded himself in key positions of appointment, close family, and personalities who are also his friends. And the numbers seem to have swelled up from that press conference, even though it's been disputed by the MPP party communication office, to about 51. And that's enormous, unprecedented.
Yes. Let me begin by saying that even though we have seen evidence of this to this magnitude in this regime, this thing did not start today. It has been with us since time immemorial. When Nkrumah was in office, Nkrumah was accused of having surrounded himself with, especially the national security people, being all Nzema people. They mentioned people like Ambrose Yankee and the rest. They accused Nkrumah of that this country belongs to all of us. For that reason, if you are governing, you need a fair representation of all people in the government. That was a major accusation for Nkrumah. When Progress Party also took charge, it was accused of having run the affair of this state using accounts and accounts in majority. That was another charge. We talk about Liman and the short period that Liman reigned. The major accusation was that, or one of the accusations was that he has also surrounded himself with nothing. The phenomenon permeates the Fourth Republic. And we saw that in Rawlings' era, where he was accused of having surrounded himself with others, and others were having topmost positions and all that. The same charge was leveled against Kufuor when he took over the reins of government in said he has surrounded himself with advantages and all that. We saw similar accusation in the era of Professor Mills that he has made Fanti the kingpin in the party. We saw that level against JM, that he surrounded himself with what? Not. And Nana is the next person you are talking about. What it tells you that this phenomenon has been with us. But you see, if you want to deal with it, I want to send our mind to what Aristotle gave us, the father of politics, that anything called government, you need to measure it from two principles. One, who is governing? In other words, he's looking at the government that is in office. If we're looking at a monarchy, then you know it is in the interest of one person. So that one, if the person surrounds himself with family, friends, you don't have a problem because the whole governance hinges on what? Family. All right. If you go to aristocracy, he's talking about the best government for the people. You are talking about people from aristocratic homes, and people who are wealthy and all that. And if that is the case, you know you can assess it based on the standards that aristocracy offers. If you go to democracy, which we are, it's a government of the people, and that the people's interest is key. So when you look at it, Aristotle's second principle that is most revealing is that in whose interest are you governing? And if you look at that, you realize that as soon as you surround yourself with family members, you are in the realm of nepotism. That you throw away, meritocracy, you throw away proper rules regarding appointment and all that. And that when somebody even goes wrong, you can't correct that person. And then you are in the realm of what? Nepotism. When you move further into friends, you are in the realm of what? Cronyism, where cronies, their interest is what is paramount. You extend it into what? Giving certain positions to people that you can benefit politically. Then you are in the realm of what? Patronymic. And those who develop these concepts, and we can make mention of Max Weber, he tells us that all these things do not augur well for governance of every state. Because, strictly speaking, when you are talking about governance, you are in the realm of allocation and distribution of resources.
Yeah.
And that when you surround yourself with friends and family, then the resources could be distributed.
Okay.
In a certain way that people would not
so you are claiming that the NDC don't have any case? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying. I'm telling you that yes, what the NDC is saying is true. But NDC was also guilty when they were in office, and so was all every regime that we have experienced have had a share of this phenomenon. Of bringing its hair up in governance. And I'm saying that it is not good enough that we have that. I am happy that today the debate is alive, that now something ought to be done to be able to make it work and work forever.
Right.
The rules.
Well,
I'm listening.
I wanted you to just wrap up for me. That's why.
Yes, a quick one. The way out is that we should allow rules to work. Once we do that, because if you look at human society, we are weak as a human society. And that's why there are rules which regulate our conduct. Once we have the rules, we go, and yes, it is true that you can have family members who are qualified, and other people use that argument. But the issue is that would you surround yourself with all your family members or friends? Then it becomes what? A perversion, a misnomer. That is not good enough. So all that we are saying that let the rules.
So this time it's a misnomer, you say, because it looks like if you look at the genealogy that has been drawn by the NDC, it seems.
But I'm saying that if even one is bad enough, then one is bad enough, and I'm saying that it has permeated through all the regimes, and we're saying that the country should be able to nip it in the bud by going back to what? The rules.
Thank you.
Who thought that today vigilantism will be a thing of the past? If the state wants to do, we can do. And one way is that we can, force the political parties to put it in their manifesto, saying that when you come, we are not going to see.
That's why the NDC is advocating nepotism law, right?
Yes, and I'm saying that extension of it is that it can be put into a manifesto so that we can hold political parties on that matter.
Dr. Kwame Asasante, thank you very much. I've loved your contribution this morning. It's a political science.
Roland, just a quick one.
Please, no interjection.
Just a quick one.
Wrap-up comment.
Yes, on the security of Parliament. I think there's something very interesting, and I've also paid attention to it since I joined Parliament. We have three arms of government. you have the judiciary, the executive, and, you know, the legislature. Now, what is interesting is that the executive have security men, they have policemen. That's why ministers have policemen. The judiciary, our judges, have policemen, security. But Parliament doesn't. I'm not saying because of that Parliament should have, but I'm just saying that it is an interesting thing to take note of. Again, the judiciary have official vehicles. Executive have official vehicles. But parliamentarians on a loan have to provide their own official vehicle. That's I'm not saying because of that parliamentarians should have official vehicles. I'm just saying that it is an interesting observation to make. And perhaps as a country, we can look at whether it is okay to have it as it is, or to have a discussion on it. And if you notice the point he made about the accusations that have been leveled against governments as it relates to nepotism in our governance, one thing for me is striking. The fact that it started with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and the accusation, and perhaps continued because those who took over after Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, you know, behaved in ways to suggest that they accused Nkrumah for nothing. Maybe without evidence, but in their actions there was evidence. And that carried forward to even the President Mahama era, where it got to bizarre levels, weird and illogical levels, where it went to a point where they were now saying everybody was a Northerner. Even if you were appointed in Ezongo in the eastern region, you were President Mahama's brother, and you were a Northerner. It didn't matter if you were raised in Nima and never even have been to the Northern region.
I can't give you the
opportunity.
I can't give you the opportunity. Thank you.
Family and friends.
Henry Kokofu.
In the days of
Mr. Henry Kokofu is a former member of Parliament for Bantama. And then Alhassan Suhuyini is a member of Parliament for Tamale North. And thank you. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Because you people are saying
let's run this by you. Celebrating hard work and corporate excellence. And under the distinguished patronage of the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center is presenting to you the 18th edition of the Ghana Club 100 Awards. And it is to honor 100 companies that are blazing a trail in their respective industries. And it's on the theme, sustainable agriculture, the bedrock of Ghana's industrialization drive. Well, the event will be taking place at the Plush Kempinski Hotel, Gold Coast City, Accra, and it's on Friday, the 15th of November at 6 p.m. prompt. You can get limited tickets available on sale currently at the front desk of the GIPC office. Make sure that you join us in celebrating Ghana's captains of industry. And also for further inquiries, you can also call the number 030-266 512529 or 0244 877 583. And ranking member or partner for this event is Ensign Young. Title sponsors are Agrocom. Platinum sponsors are B5 Plus, Olam Ghana Limited, and the gold sponsor is GCNet. Well, we have supporting sponsors as well. They are MTN, Newmont Ghana, M&G Pharmaceuticals, Goil Ghana Limited, Emesco Ghana Limited, Akrabirio Casapreco, Agric Development Bank, McDan, Stanbic Bank, Exim Bank, and media partners, yours truly. We're here at Multimedia, Ghanaian Times, The Daily Graphic, Go Street Business, City FM, Ghana Web, the GNA, Peace FM, Media General. Ghana Club 100, celebrating Ghana's business leaders.